Have I got time to ask you about pundits?
Of course you are. Is it who's good and who's bad?
No, come on. No, I've written down here what makes a great pundit. And
Yeah.
obviously, you're on a different side to this because essentially you're not really there to give your opinion, which I suppose on the one hand is great because you can avoid all of that blowback. But on the other hand, I'm sure you're itching to say it sometimes and you don't get to. I've written down here my order, and you can tell me whether I'm right. So I've got communication skills, then charisma second. I think that's so important. Credibility. I suppose you double up because you were a player and a host, which is rare. Then I've got calmness because you're doing a live. They'll begin with C. I could do this as a TED talk, couldn't I?
Yes.
Because of all the stuff that's going on, and someone might score in minute 45 plus 3, and you've got to change everything you're going to say at half time. And then, as much as I hate to say it, the look, I guess, is important because you're on TV and people are looking at you. And we've just described Mr. Joby McAnuff, haven't we? But there you go. What do you think of my rap sheet?
No, I would wholeheartedly agree with all of those. And I'd also say as well, my job and our job when we welcome people in at Sky is to help them with all of those things. There's people that would have a natural ability for communication. I've sat with guests that have been life and soul. Then the light comes on, and I get a diluted version, and then the blasé version of you can in your head go, well, can't you just be the one that was there before? But then you kind of go, oh, but if they've not got enough minutes under the belt in that environment, which is an alien environment, then maybe there is that reticence, natural reticence, which is absolutely understandable. And then you can kind of go, well, there's a seed of something there, so we can work with that person. Being able to be succinct, I think, is a huge thing. That it was. And I do lapse into it from time to time where I'd get a producer in my ear saying, get to the end of the question, because I'll start saying something and I'm thinking, the producer saying to me, because there is that element of having played the game, but not like I've played the game and no one else can. If you've not played the game, you don't have an opinion. I think that's totally rubbish. But I can start asking a question and semi-answer it before I then deliver it to the pundit. And the pundit's going, we've got absolutely nowhere to go with that because you've given us the answer. And the good ones, or the ones that I know, will go, well, you've already answered that. Yep, fair enough. Let's move swiftly on. Sorry about that. So that ability to be succinct, there's some, and I think it's becoming less and less now, that sensationalist element where you get people just saying stuff for the sake of it. Unless, again, there's a whole other strand here, which is what's clippable. You know what I mean? You see that on someone saying on Instagram, and then you go, well, that's ridiculous. But I understand what that different sphere of entertainment is. But yeah, for them to be succinct, to make a point, get to the end of that sentence. I mean, these all sound very straightforward. Answer the question, and if my question's crap, come back at me. You're not asking me. Okay, I'll go again with a different question. And the credibility comes from being consistent and sticking to your guns, being able to hold your hands up when things haven't quite worked out. We ask pundits to make predictions. I know that they get clipped up and put on socials and I got it wrong. So what? I asked him a question 4 months ago whether they get promoted and he said yes. Got it wrong. Yes, because in that 4 months they've gone off a cliff and they've been terrible. That's why they haven't got nothing to do with.
And you have 4 months of new information that person did not have when they made that comment.
You make that comment with the information at that time, therefore it's your opinion, which is fine. The look, I think you're absolutely right. I do. I keep saying, and it hopefully keeps me in relatively decent check because I keep seeing all these former players coming in, like Joby, like Curtis, Luke Chambers. Gary Rowett's another one when he dips his toe in, been running marathons. I'm like, guys, you're killing me, mate. Can't you do what everyone else does? Quit a job, get fat, then come in. No,
I played six-a-side against Joby. I reckon he could come on as a sub at, what do you reckon, League Two for the last 10 minutes?
Definitely. Yeah. And I mean, let's be honest, he's naturally built that way, Ben. Some of us are fair. And even from my point of view, you talk about how things look, and you'd like to think that we're all banging the drum for content and substance, but there has got to be a bit of that as well. Because it is telly. I can be a bit like that sometimes when you might see someone come on telly doing. I remember seeing it in lockdown, and lockdown obviously was totally different. We all spent 3 months in our pajamas, but was a weatherman that came on the beeb, and it was almost like, my God, I mean, you're not even trying anymore. I know the world's gone to absolute shit, but you're not even trying. Come on. So there is an element of that, but I think the rap sheet that you're there, absolutely right. And like I said, the good ones turn up prepped, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, and they want to be there. There's a privilege of being there. There's a joy at being there. I'll have a laugh. I'll try and make it as fun as possible, as easy as possible, as enjoyable as possible. But I want something back. And the longer you do it, so like a Joby, like a Curtis, the more that Chambo does, and apologies if I'm missing out any others, Andy Hinchcliffe, Don Goodman, absolute pillars
and the great Sam Parkin, who you can hear each and every week on the Championship Check-In podcast on this very channel.
Sam, glory, again, prepped, enthusiastic, will go anywhere that it's told, like we all will. I'll give him so much time and give him so much feedback because it's meant to be fun. And then, like I said, the longer you do it, and Joby's getting there and Curtis is getting there, get your earpiece in, get open talk back. The biggest bit of advice, if you're going to get into this and you want to do it front and center, get open talk back, which means you hear absolutely everything in your ear from the DA, the director, the gallery, the people in EVS that are there taking the piss out of the shirt that you're wearing, or all that type of stuff, because you need to be able to work out how to be able to do that with your mouth whilst doing that with your ear at the same time. So the ones that do it for longer, I'm absolutely constantly on to make sure they do that.
And just really quickly, those people that trend mainly towards charisma, and I have worked with Clinton Morrison, so I can say this from...
I was going to say, he was my example. Ben. Go on.
Where he may be extremely high on charisma, but honestly, I emailed him the notes, and he's like, oh, my wife's got my email. Printed them out, put them in his hand. Does he read them? No. But he came out with something really good. And Neil Warnock, where you know you're going to ask him a question, and he's going to answer. His answer will be brilliant, but he's going to answer whatever question he wants to. How do you, as a host, deal with the very high charisma, but maybe less? I don't want to say focus because that's unfair on those guys, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point because, and I tell you what works with that as well. So that therein lies a producer's challenge to put the panel together. So you need light and shade.
You need Matt Holland with Clinton Morrison, yeah.
you need the straight man, not to the funny one, but Clinton. You know what I mean? If potentially you've got a game where you're looking at it on paper, you're going, oof, that might be a bit tough. Get me someone with a bit of, you know what I mean, bit of life, bit of spark. And I know Clinton. I can take the piss out of Clinton. He can take and it's nice and bubbly, but I respect what he's done. An international footballer, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Way beyond whatever I achieved as a player. And so you play to the strengths. You play to the strengths. Maybe give them a little gentle poke. Maybe kind of tease them a little bit to get a little bit of a reaction. Get them to say something to the pundit. Neil's brilliant. Like you say, Neil will say what he wants. I've got so much time for him. He sent me a really nice text message after the EFL Awards when we'd given him his achievement, and it was a really nice text message, but sent in such a begrudging way. He said, I hate to say it, but
did you read it in his accent as well?
Yeah, exactly. and that really made it for me. But we did a couple of Borough games back end of last season, and another skill as a pundit, as you do it more, talking to pitches. So if people on screen are seeing a defender warm up, and you're talking about the goalie, I'm like, let's talk about the goalie. And we had Hayden Hackney on screen, and Johnny Howson was playing his 800, something ridiculous. And Johnny, if you ever listen to this, mate, well done. He was a young lad at Leeds. What a career you've had, my friend. And he started talking about Hayden, and then he went off on one about Johnny, and he must have done it 2 or 3 times on 3 different players. And then everyone's laughing their heads off in my ear, going, "That's not Johnny Howson." I said, "I know it's not Johnny." And then we kind of got to the end, and I said something along the lines of, well, you can tell who Neil quite likes, Johnny Howson. I think hopefully he has a good game. And you do. Hopefully you find yourself in a position where you can gently take the mick out of these people without them going, "Oh, you're mugging me off." Because nothing about what I'd want to do is make someone feel uncomfortable. Thank you for watching this clip, and please check out the full interview, which will be live this Sunday morning. It's fascinating.